Hi everybody, I thought I would just have a quick video covering off a little more detail around MarRojo, the Spanish Civil War naval game with the expansion for the Spanish-American War 1898, as you can see pictured. I've just done a general setup for the Battle of Cavite scenario that is in the Spanish-American War expansion, just to show you also, generally speaking, across the game how the initial setup looks. I'm not going to do a full playthrough, but I am going to just talk around some of the key sequences to the game and some of my general observations, having played a couple of solo games playing from both sides as opposed to the solo game built into the rules themselves. So I hope you enjoy what are just my own humble opinions of this little game. So I just wanted to talk first of all about some of the good and some of the maybe not so good elements of the game. I'm going to start by getting some of the niggly things out of the way, really. So for example, in the rules it mentions yellow damage markers or cubes. In the game they were red and green cubes. Not an issue for me, but I'm sure some people would find that a little bit frustrating. Likewise with the dice, we've got 3 purple with roundels on, and we've got 2 black with stars on. There doesn't seem to be any correlation between these dice and the normal d6s mentioned in the game. I think these might well have been dice that were produced for a game that Ivan had brought out earlier. It's 5 d6s, it's not a problem, but again, perhaps just 5 ordinary d6s or 5 of the same type would have been a bit better. They're the only real major things in terms of niggles. The box, superb. The cards and the artwork, as you can see there in this example, fabulous. Lovely pictures of the ships, nice clear markings on the card, so you know exactly what each of the statistics mean and what they relate to. And the artwork on the top of the books as well, and the cards, superb. I'll show you some of these cards, for example. Let's zoom that in so you can see that. You know, very nice. It's got a really old sort of 1930s 40s feel to it, with the black and white photographs, but again the fonts at the bottom very clear, easy to understand, so that's really good as well. So, as we've said, the cards are great, the box is great, the cubes that come with the game, I haven't got them out here. Yeah, they could be better. They're not the best, but they're fine. They're perfectly workable in terms of the game. But this little game does come with a lot of kit and a lot of options. So we've got lots of scenarios in the main rules and in the expansion. They're short, medium, and large. Although in the rule books themselves, they're short, average, and long. And then when you get into the scenarios, they're, for example, medium. So again, probably just an interpretation there, that's all. But some of the things that I really like in this game are some of the mechanics, and we'll come on to those shortly. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of some of the workings of the game to start with. So basically we have a short, medium and long range or setting. And certain ships are allowed in certain areas, and ships can move between those areas or rows as well. But this is just to give you an example of a setup for the Cavite battle. And also in this scenario the cards are uncovered. In other scenarios they would be covered, i.e. not visible, and part of the game sequence allows you to cover and uncover both your own cards and your opponent's cards if you so wish. It's very much a card driven game, and ultimately you're going to be able to do probably one of 3 things with those cards, predominantly taking an action, offering support or interrupting, and they are going to be the key drivers behind the game. When you take an action, as I say, you can move ships, you can combat, and with combat you can choose what you want to fire. So main armament is in red. Let's just zoom that in so you can see that. Yep, so you've got red there, main armament, secondary armament, and then you've got other things like torpedoes. The hull and the movement is also on there as well. Some other ships have got things like anti-submarine, air-to-air combat if you've got aircraft, bombardments, you've got anti-aircraft fire. And again, ranges will be short, medium or long depending on a cross-reference chart between the various forces which you do each time something like that happens. So that's just a general overview of the game. I'm not going to go into the real workings of this other than some of the things that I really like. And I like the covering and uncovering of the fleet cards dynamic. I think that's really clever. It allows you to pull ships out of the line, get them into relative safety. It also allows you to expose enemy ships and concentrate your fire on them. So the covering and uncovering of the fleet cards is a really nice dynamic. I really like the fire mechanic as well. So each time you fire, or certainly with most things you'll fire, not everything, you will incur stress on your ship. So you could call that combat fatigue, and you would put a cube onto that ship, and a certain number of stress counters will reduce the effectiveness of your ship. So you're always trying to manage that balance between effect and stress. Sometimes you have to use your actions to reduce stress on the ships, to kind of rally them, get them back into good working order. But obviously that sacrifice is an action you could be taking in other regards, such as firing guns, trying to target enemy vessels, etc. I also like the fact that there are other things in there. For example, if there's a torpedo attack from a submarine, any escorts you've got in the front can attack that submarine first, in effect like a depth charges attack, before the torpedo attack is allowed. So again, it's a really nice mechanic in there as well. Anti-aircraft mechanic, again something I really like. If aircraft attack, then the anti-aircraft batteries on your ships are allowed to make a defensive fire to see if they shoot down any of the aircraft. Again, adds a little bit of period feel, a nice way of dealing with that kind of aircraft to ship action. And the same as when a submarine, going back to firing torpedoes, fires a torpedo, it automatically submerges and the card would be turned over. So again, a nice dynamic with the fog of war, particularly with submarine warfare. As I say, some of the actions you can take are to reorganize and remove stress cubes, fatigue in effect off the ships, which again I really like. And there are some optional rules in there that I haven't really looked at too much at the moment, including night fighting, naval combat at night. That would be very interesting. And there's other things for some of the other fleet cards that were Kickstarter exclusives. So there were some Royal Navy ships in there and some of the other nations as well, which can be brought into play in certain scenarios. Of course, you can randomly generate your own scenario, which again is good. And that randomness comes into the length of the game. So you have all these sort of action cards that you're using and replacing on an ongoing basis each turn, and ultimately you'll have a deck of those, and when you get an end card come up, that at some point thereafter will bring an end to the game. So there's this kind of uncertainty about how long the battle is going to last, and what you can or can't do. But each player would generally start with 5 of these, as you can see. Really nice cards, and the cards themselves are a great dynamic to the game because they give you various options. For example, you can use the action on the card, you can activate fleet cards, sorry, that's the red one, or remove stress markers. So you've got various things that you can do with the cards. Likewise, you might just decide to pick up more on your turn, and you have this I go you go approach between you and the other player. And that card deck is gradually reducing all the time, and that uncertainty of when the game may come to an end. So you may have specific objectives that you need to achieve within your scenario, and obviously there's that kind of friction, that uncertainty of how long you've got left to achieve that. So that's just a very brief overview of the game, and I'll just give a quick summary to close off, but I hope you found that quite useful, particularly those who've just purchased the game and are looking to get it set up for the first time. So in summary, yeah, a few little niggles, but overall a very nicely produced game. Some really nice components, as we can see there. Lots of replayability, and lots of different options and actions are available to you, as well as card management, managing your resources, you know, balancing that stress with actually activating the ships, obviously trying to keep damage down to a minimum, moving ships in and out of the line, you know, using other types of vessels that would be in other scenarios, not on this one, submarines, aircraft, etc. You've even got shore batteries. There is an awful lot to this little game, and it all comes in this little box. I think Ivan and Spaniagames have done a really good job with this one. It looks a really interesting game, and I know me and my buddies will enjoy having a few games of this in due course. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, and it's given you a little insight into MarRojo, and it might be something that that appeals to you. As I say, these are just my humble opinions, having had a quick play through myself, and having a good read through the rules and a look at the components. But I hope that's been helpful, and look forward to seeing you again soon.